Greetings, fellow Planeswalkers.
I'm James.
And I'm Paul.
And you're listening to the newest episode of the Commander-at-Arms podcast. This week on the podcast, we are breaking down the new Stranger Things Secret Lair. But before that, we have our upkeep trigger to do, and I want to start here by thanking all of our patrons for your love and support. You guys definitely help to keep the lights on here in the studios, and you guys keep us fed as well. And I do like eating, like a decent amount. If you want to support the show directly, you can do that at patreon.com/commanderatarms. After that, we have Mail Day and Interesting Finds. Paul, have you bought anything or found anything in your collection this week?
I have purchased and received some more cube cards. Namely, one second, I forgot what they are. I got 3 copies of the box topper or whatever, Council's Judgment from Double Masters. I only really needed one, but it's an amazing card, and it was like $3, maybe $4 for the foil full art box topper. So yeah, I got one for cube, and then I've got a couple more that I can just either use as trade fodder or put somewhere else.
Hell yeah, dude.
I got a full, about another box topper, Academy Runes foil, and finally I got a foil box topper Phyrexia Metamorph. Again, these are all for cube. I'm just trying to make it look pretty.
I mean, it's going to look pretty and it's going to play pretty. I cannot wait. And I keep saying this every time you mention this cube. I want to play this thing so bad.
I know. I've been talking about it for a while. It's coming together, though. It really is coming together. It's more than halfway done now.
Excellent. That's what I want to hear. So hopefully by like maybe the start of next year, we might be playing this cube.
Yes.
Yes. You seem pretty tentative about that, and that's fine.
Well, it depends on various things.
That's very, very true. I don't have specifically a Mail Day and Interesting Find myself, but I did celebrate a birthday recently, and my wife decided that as part of my birthday present, and I think you knew about this too, Paul, because she said, don't read my messages from Paul, and I'm like I would ever do that ever, because that's such an invasion of privacy. But anyway, neither here nor there. I think you know what I'm going to talk about a little bit here, but she bought me 3 brand new commanders, which I still don't know who they are at the time of this recording, because they haven't shown up in the mail yet. But she got an email saying that they have all been shipped. So I have no idea what they are, which is really cool. So I get 3 brand new commanders to build around. And she built me a deck box for every single one of them. So she is pretty artsy, and I love that about her. And she built me a wooden deck box for my 30th. When we had the episode with Gavin on there, she put a little homage to that on it. And this one here is, it kind of pushes it pulls from the inspiration to my love of Coheed and Cambria, which is like my favorite band, and Magic the Gathering. So I know there is a Jund commander coming, a Wooburg commander coming, and an Esper commander coming. And she put all of that onto the deck box, as well as the characters that those commanders are meant to represent in the Coheed and Cambria lore. So that is that's my Mail Day and Interesting Find. It's more of like an interesting present, because it was my 31st birthday present from her. If you want to check out those pictures, we're going to have them on the Commander at Arms Instagram. We're going to have them on, I believe it's going to be on her Bad Fred Instagram as well. So go and check that out. I'll put all the links in the show notes below. But yeah, go check out us out on Instagram at CMDR at Arms, because that's where you're going to be able to find the pictures of these deck boxes. They are beautiful, and I love them so much.
Yeah, I totally knew about it. / know about it.
It's all right. You guys, you two just got together and conspired, not against me, but for me, I guess, if that's the right way to put it.
I think conspired has exclusively negative connotation, but I'm not sure what the positive version of that word is, so we're just gonna go with it.
Well, we're gonna take that conspire word and flip it upside down, so it means a positive.
Sure.
See what I did there? I tied everything together. That's what I'm really good
now
at.
I get it.
Upside down, because we're talking about Stranger Things. Speaking of Stranger Things, Paul, you put a deck together not for this episode, but for this Secret Lair that's going to be up on the YouTube, that should be up on the YouTube before this video even comes out. So if you haven't checked that one out, go on and check it out.
Yes, that deck tech is about Max and Lucas. When I first saw the Secret Lair contents revealed, I saw them and I was like, wow, they go really good together, which I mentioned this in the video too, but apparently makes sense because they're a couple in the show, evidently. But I also don't have a teamer deck, so it's going to be my first teamer deck. It's also my first time building that style of deck, which I don't want to spoil anything. Go watch the video. It's a really fun deck. I really think it'll be really fun to pilot and play, and I cannot wait to actually get my hands on the cards and actually put that deck together.
Yeah, I sneak peekly have seen the deck because it's obviously on our shared Architect account, and it is spicy. Paul brought the spice, and he flavored this thing beautifully, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. That was my bad Gordon Ramsay impression. But yeah, definitely go and check that one out. YouTube.com/commanderatarms. You can find that deck tech, all our other deck techs as well, and where you can find this podcast in a video form. As for the last part of our upkeep trigger here, we have Play of the Week. Paul, do you have a Play of the Week?
I haven't played Magic in a couple weeks myself. I've been pretty busy at work and also celebrated a birthday last week, so haven't really had time.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I also haven't played Magic that much this week. I think my last couple of plays were mentioned on the podcast last week or on last episode. So I'm going to put this out to everybody out there. If you have an interesting Play of the Week that you want us to know about, either let us know in the comment section below of this video or go to Twitter at CMDR@arms. Let us know, tweet at us. We'll pick our favorite 3 and we will put them on next week's episode in the Play of the Week slot. So if you want your Play of the Week to be featured here on the show, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving a comment below for the Play of the Week. So leave it in the comment section below or tweet at us. That's how you can do it. Did it on the fly. And with that, let's move to main phase 1 now, where we finally get to jump into the Stranger Things Secret Lair, Paul. We're going to start off this with an RC statement, because I was kind of just, messing around on the internet a little bit, trying to figure out how people felt about these ones, because we know last time we got uniquely mechanical cards from an IP that wasn't Magic, the whole community blew up. We're not going to name names or anything, but I mean, it was the Walking Dead stuff. Yes, I bought it. We all know that. Go listen to that episode if you want to. But Sheldon and the rest of the RC came up with a statement on the website. I'm just going to quickly just quote them a little bit here. So they say that the cards from the Secret Lair, Stranger Things, will be legal in Commander. Like with any cards, they'll be judged on their individual merits. If any of them demonstrate that they're unhealthy for the format, we'll take appropriate action. To clarify, man, I cannot read or write today. To clarify, Friends Forever is a limited scope partner-like ability. Any 2 creatures with Friends Forever can be your commanders. They do not interact with creatures that have the normal partner ability. See the rule 702.124A. Although they're not the biggest fans of uniquely mechanical limited availability cards, the folks at Wizards of the Coast have improved their processes, making the Secret Lair drops more available to more people for longer, especially since the cards will be getting Magic IP equivalents starting in Streets of New Campania. We strongly encourage them to continue doing this trend. And I agree. I mean, as soon as they were coming out saying that, yes, they were going to do this, I was like, awesome, sweet. This shouldn't cause an uproar, because I love Stranger Things, and that's just me. That's one of the 2 people here at Commander at Arms love Stranger Things. I know I have definitely told Paul to go and watch it, haven't I, Paul?
Yeah, literally 5 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah, definitely go watch it, because we're having our pre-recording discussions, and it was we were like, oh, how are we going to do this? How are we going to break this episode down? How are we going to do it? And we kind of came to the formula that we're going to go through now with you guys. But it was just these two people go together. I was like, man, they're a couple as well. And I'm just he's picking out all the couples in the show. So I was like, definitely go and watch it. It's on Netflix. I know season 3 has definitely been confirmed for next year. I believe 2022 is going to have season 3. So if you haven't caught up with Stranger Things, go and check it out. Small little shout out to Netflix. # not sponsored yet. But we're gonna kick off. We are going to list off these 8 creatures in alphabetical order, except for the last one, because we're going to leave the mono black commander for last. And I think Paul had a little thing he wanted to say before we jumped into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Oh yeah, just a little add-on to the Magic IP equivalent starting in New Capenna. I think they also confirmed that they are going to be printing Magic IP equivalents of the Walking Dead cards in New Capenna as well, alongside the Stranger Things. So if you weren't able to get your hands on that Secret Lair, you may want to keep an eye out once that set hits the market.
Yeah, and they also said that they're going to do it they're specifically in set boosters because they're a part of the list, but they will pop up, I think it was every 1 out of 8 cards from the list will be one of these, Secret Lair cards.
Yeah,
so they're going to pop up at least pretty consistently. So even if you just want to buy the singles, they won't be ridiculously expensive to what they possibly could be if they were just a normal list card. So you're definitely going to be able to get your hands on them if you want them to have their magic flavor and not the Stranger Things IP, but want the cards to do what the card says, if that makes sense. So I guess we'll just start off here with our first one, and we're going to talk about Chief Jim Hopper. Is 2 red and a white for a 4/4 legendary human soldier with menace that says whenever Chief Jim Hopper attacks, investigate once for each non-token attacking creature and has friends forever, which just says you can have 2 commanders if both have friends forever.
So we're going to be evaluating these at surface level, meaning not taking into account all the different friends that they can have, which it feels weird to say that instead of partner, but I feel it's important to make that distinction. At surface level, it's a 4-mana 4/4 with menace, which is already really efficiently statted with a relevant keyword. And it doesn't say investigate once when you attack, right? It's not limited to that once per turn thing that Wizards has been doing lately with some cards. It is literally if you attack with 5 creatures, including Chief Jim Hopper, you investigate 5 times, which means you get 5 clues. That's kind of insane, right? That's crazy card advantage. Yes, you have to pay 2 mana for each card, but it's delayed. If your hand already has 5 or 6 cards in it, you don't need to immediately draw the card. And you can cash in those artifacts for other things later, which certain friends do care about.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said everything on the nose. I mean, it's Boros doing what Boros wants to do. It wants to attack, and it wants to attack with lots of things. I like that this says non-token creature. Well, it just says for each non-token attacking creature. So, I mean, you can't really go white weenies and just go really big. So you're not going to be getting 60, 70, maybe 80, clue tokens every time. But I mean, just getting a couple and then being able to draw cards. Is this white card draw, Paul?
Honestly, I'm thinking about slotting into Gadget, on a serious note. But I digress.
I can see it. It just won't work with the Rhinos part of Gearhead, which is fine because I mean I know your Gearhead deck isn't based around just getting at the stupid amount of Rhinos that mine does.
Yeah, mine is a creature heavy build, so Chief Jim Hopper can actually do some work there. Yeah, I think we're gonna go. I don't, James. I don't know if you heard me before, but I kind of want to do a scale of 1 to 13 on these for flavor reasons.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, sick. I'm going to give Jim Hopper an 11, honestly. I think he's very good.
I think I'm also going to go 11. I like this card. I like this card a lot. I like him by himself, but I also like that he has friends forever and he can, quote unquote partner with any of these other cards. So slapping him with any other card just makes him even better, but I mean, we're just looking at the cards by themselves. Yeah, definitely an 11. So let's move on now. After Chief Jim Hopper, we have Dustin Gadget Genius, 2 white and a blue, so Azorius, for a 2/3 legendary human with an activated ability of tap, add double colorless. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts and has friends forever.
This is, in my opinion, the worst of all these friends. It adds 2 colorless. It costs 4 mana. I'm pretty sure we have the same ability in Is It at 2 and 3 mana, something like that. I can't remember the exact name of the creature that I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure it exists. So the fact that this one is in less relevant colors for artifacts, again, we're not taking into account the partners. We're talking about the card itself. This one is very, very like less than medium for me. I'm gonna give it if we're going on a scale to 13, I'm gonna give it a 4.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. That card you were thinking of was Dalicos, Crafter of Wonders.
Thank you. Is it exactly the same thing? I think it is.
Yeah, it is exactly the same activated ability. The only thing is Dalicos has equipped creatures you control have flying and haste.
Gotcha.
Whereas this has friends forever. It's super underwhelming for such a cool character in the show. I can see where they think he's a bit of a tinkerer, because I mean he is the one who has like a really like dope headset that he uses for his walkie-talkies. And he's always carrying the backpack. So I mean, I get it. I understand it. He doesn't really create things in the show like they're trying to portray on the card, that he's like, you know, always like building stuff. I mean, like, I guess so he does eventually a little bit, but not as much as you would really think to put a whole mechanic around it.
I feel like to make this more unique and more powerful, and I don't know if this is too powerful or not, but I feel like if it had said, if this mana is spent to cast an artifact spell or activate an artifact ability, copy that spell or ability.
Oh, that would have been like huge. That would have been broken.
I don't know about broken, but like I think it would have been pretty cool. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty medium on Dustin, unfortunately. Super cool character. Love his story arc in the show, but just don't love his card as much. Moving on, we're going to go to 11, the Mage. She is 1 and Grixis, so blue, black, red, for a 3/5 legendary human wizard that says your maximum hand size is 11. Whenever 11 the Mage attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Then if you have 11 or more cards in your hand, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost and has friends forever.
A lot of people are, rightfully so, comparing this to like Narset and Jaleva. Jaleva makes a little more sense because they're in the same colors, I think. But I honestly think that Narset is a better comparison because you can do a lot of similar shenanigans with the two. As long as you just keep 11 cards in your hand, 11 can cast like another like extra turn spell or another extra combat spell for free. Every time it attacks, you draw a card, and you just get to keep, you know, chaining off extra turns and extra combats. So I feel like this and Narset, at a bare minimum, fulfill the same purpose. But the Friends Forever opens up a lot of different opportunities for 11. And I think for that reason, over Narset, it becomes a lot more interesting. I'm going to give 11... Is it too cheeky to give it an 11?
I was going to say, don't you dare give her an 11. Like, that's too on the nose.
I think I'm actually going to give it a 9.
A 9? You don't like it that much? You like Hopper better than 11?
At a surface level, yes.
Yeah, okay. At a surface level, I'm probably going to give her a 10. 1 less than an 11. This was, I think 11 was the first card that I saw from this set, and I went, oh my god, I don't have a Grixis deck. I want to build a Grixis deck, and this is the Grixis deck that I want to build. Yeah, I think she's a 10. Easy. You know, you attack, you draw cards, you lose life. Meh, doesn't matter. You're losing life. Who cares? You're in Grixis. Just either gain it back or finish the game before anything happens. I love that your maximum hand size becomes 11 because that's just super flavorful. And then being able to cast instant sorcery spells for free as well. I mean, you kind of equivalated it to Narset, and I agree with you 100% on that one. I didn't actually think about that at all when I read the card. I went, oh, that could be really fun. Like, you know, just getting like incremental value every single turn, or just being like, let's just, you know, some sort of degenerate infinite combo with casting extra turns and aggravated assault, you know?
Yeah, there are a couple different interesting combinations that you can do with 11, but like I said at the beginning, we're not accounting for those right now. Just as a Grixis card, I feel like this is basically just a creature version of Phyrexian Arena. And like that's a good card. I would play that, but it's a little different because you have to actively go out of your way to trigger 11, albeit by attacking. It doesn't have any evasion whatsoever to protect itself. So, honestly, like by itself, I'm actually going to drop it down to an 8 now that I think more about it.
Oh,
for some reason, I thought it had flying, but it actually doesn't have any keywords at all.
No, she doesn't. I mean, adding a keyword to this card would just make it even more insane.
Is it insane, though?
I mean, it's in blue. Just give it flying.
Narset has hexproof and first strike.
You wanted to have hexproof and first strike? Is that what you just said?
I think it should have a keyword, flying, namely.
Have you heard of the swords, Paul? Just give it protection.
Okay, well.
I mean, if you really want to go that route, I mean, if you wanted to attack and you wanted to attack with impunities, just give it a sword, bro. Or give it some sort, just give it like the what is it, fleet, feather, foot, flying boots, whatever they're called, the 2-drop, instead of giving hexproof, gives flying.
Sure,
that'd be right.
You just said. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Whatever you just said. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. The feather foot flying fleet bros. Footwear. Go get them at your local Nike
Wizards,
store.
print it.
I'm really good at naming cards. I mean, you could easily build this deck instant and sorcery with a little bit of some enchantments or artifacts or something that gives evasion easily enough. I mean, you could do it, or just super spike the deck up to a point where who cares if you attack into smaller boards, because everyone's just playing mana dorks and stuff. I mean, push it into that competitively casual format that we like to call one step below CDH, and then your 3/5 just becomes a god. But anyway, I digress. So we have our last card here before we go into the ad break, and that is Lucas the Sharpshooter. I'm sure, Paul, you explained this on the deck tech that you did, but I'm going to go through and read this one now. Here's an Is It card. So blue and a red for a 1/3 legendary creature human with an activated ability of tap to sacrifice an artifact. Lucas the Sharpshooter deals 1 damage to target creature and you goad that creature. So just a reminder, goading is until your next turn, that creature attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able and has friends forever.
Lucas does something very special, or that I consider very special, and that's goad. I've said this many times before, but goad is possibly my favorite mechanic in Magic the Gathering. It really helps spice up a game, much like Monarchy does. And it is a great way to deal with problematic commanders that don't have abilities that make them tap. Because you can goad them, and then they're forced to attack somebody that's not you, and then that other person can just block them and kill them. Not to mention that the fact that Lucas is a pinger allows you to do some interesting things if you happen to give him like Death Touch or something like that. And being able to sacrifice artifacts, while not relevant all the time, there are certain artifacts that do like that part. There's like Mycosynth Wellspring, Spine of Issa, and I'm sure there's others out there that I'm not thinking of right now. But Lucas just does a lot of work on a very cheap body. It's only 2 mana. And I'm going to give this one a 13.
Ooh, you love pingers and goad. That's all you love. Anything that comes out as a pinger and goad something, you're just like, this is my card. This should be called Paul the Sharpshooter. Like, not going to lie here. Like this. It's got everything that I consider to be like fair and balanced, but still good on a card. It really is, in my opinion, perfect design. You heard it here first, folks. Perfect design. How to build the perfect Magic card according to Paul. Lucas the Sharpshooter. #2021. Look, you were saying like sacrifice an artifact, and you were like, Mycosynth Wellspring and all that, but what about like Junk Diver and Mirror Retriever? Yeah. I mean, you could just keep looping those two back to get back and back and back again if you really wanted to. I mean, It's funny because usually pingers, like pinger decks, you want to have ways to untap things as well. But this is kind of like you have like ways to untap it as well as having relevant artifacts to sacrifice besides just artifact tokens you don't really care about, like clues and food tokens and all that other fantastically good stuff. But if you really want to go ham on this one, yeah, like Spines of Ishar is fantastic. Goes to the graveyard, goes back to your hand, you cast it again, destroy another target permanent on a stick for 7 mana. Yes, please. There is Ica Wellspring. ETBs draws you a card when it dies. When you sacrifice it, draw a card. I mean,
that's the card I was thinking of. Not Mycosynth.
Yeah, Mycosynth Wellspring is a land when it ETB. You go and get a basic land to your hand, and then I think you get a basic land to your hand when it leaves the battlefield as well. These are all cards that I play in my mono red Diredi artifact deck. So I mean, I can see how this deck could be just by himself. Like, extremely powerful and also synergistic in a way that you could build it. And the fact that like you're like anyone who plays big old dumb creatures, you just hit them for one, whoopee do, but you goad them. And that's the most important part about this is Lucas is like, well, I'm not going to attack you because it's like, I'm not going to attack anybody, but I'm going to make other people attack other people. And if you can fill this deck with more goading stuff that isn't just from Lucas as well. I mean, we have Geo Rager if you really wanted to. You have Grenzo, Dungeon Warden, I think that one's called, the mono red one. He's a little pricey at this moment.
That's a Havoc Razor.
Havoc Razor, that's it. Dungeon Warden is the Rakdos one, correct?
Yeah, that was the first one. There's also Bloodthirsty Blade.
There is also Bloodthirsty Blade. And I mean, if you really wanted to just start pinging your opponents down, yeah, just put Death Touch on this thing. Maybe put was it Basilisk Collar? Gives lifelink and Death Touch, so maybe you can start getting some life.
There's Basilisk Collar. You could also use Gorgon's Head from the original Theros set.
Yeah, I mean,
Lucas also has a unique ability in that he kind of helps you figure out, oh, like later in the game, what do I do with all like my signets and soul rings and stuff? Well, that's fodder. That's cannon fodder.
When have we ever said that artifact ramp is cannon fodder?
Literally never.
Exactly. Until now, because Lucas allows you to do that. Yeah, look, this guy's a 12 for me. I'm not going to give him like, he's not, I wish there was a little bit more, but as a car, I can't, he's not perfect for me. But I'm not a huge fan of like pingers and goad like you are. I love it. Like I do love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like I have to play pingers and goad every game or I'm not playing Magic, you know?
Sure.
So with that, let's pass through to our combat phase, Paul. Where maybe I'll swing with you. I'm going to swing at you with 11. What are you going to swing at me with?
I'll take it. She's pretty bad anyway.
Oh, well, that's fine. I'll just draw a card, lose a life, and then play an extra turn spell. How do you feel about that one?
There's no way you have 11 cards in your hand at that point.
That's fine. Well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, so we're going to move to our combat phase now. We're going to hear a message from our sponsors right now. Welcome back from that ad break. We're going to get into our main phase 2 here and continue listing the Secret Lair Stranger Things cards. So we've already done the first 4. We're going to do the last 4 now. We're going to start off with Max the Daredevil. 1 red and a green for a 2/3 legendary creature, human with haste. That says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, untap target creature, then investigate, which means you create a colorless clue token, a colorless clue artifact token, with an activated ability of 2, sack it, and you draw a card, and has friends forever.
I'm obviously a little biased towards this card.
100% you are. I know you are.
Insert deck tech plug here, which go watch that, by the way, if you haven't already. But anyway, it's got haste. Haste on a commander is, I would say, like probably one of the top 3 keywords to have, other than like hexproof and indestructible. And can kind of have pseudo vigilance, I guess, and has a little bit of card draw built in. Looking at it as specifically just a Gruul card, a Gruul commander with a relevant creature typing for those colors, meaning human, it's okay, I guess. Gruul doesn't really have a lot of cheap ways to draw cards. I'm not saying they don't have ways to draw cards, it's just that a lot of the ways to draw cards in green specifically are relatively expensive. Either that or they're tied to permanents that have conditions that you need to fill. But it's very medium on its own. I would say I'm going to put this like exactly in the middle at like, I'll round up on this one. I'll go 8.
8. Because you're going to go 7.5, weren't you?
Yeah.
Which I guess would be the half of 13.
Well, 6.5 would be the...
Yeah, it's a Gruul creature with haste, man. Like, that's. I mean, it's a 3-mana 3/2, so it would have been better if it was a 3/3, but, I mean, not gonna knock it because it's got haste. Like you said, it's also got pseudo-vigilance. It makes easy ways to draw cards, because, I mean, not only are, like, green ways either expensive to draw cards, they're also tied to, like, mainly having more creatures than your opponents, or just having a lot of creatures, which is kind of like how like green card draw really is. Insert like Return of the Wild Speaker here / Shamanic Revelations as well. So, I mean, you've got other ways to draw cards like with creatures ETBing or casting creatures as well. I don't hate this card at all. I think I'm about in the middle for it as well. I'm going to round down and go 7 though. I think it could have been a little bit better, for a like such a cool a cool idea of what they were trying to do. Like, I get what they're trying to do. It doesn't say like, oh, it's the second spell you cast each turn. It's not like, oh, it's the second creature or the second, instant or sorcery or whatever. So there are some cheeky things you could do with it. But again, like, I'm not going to say too much about it because obviously we have a full deck tech built around Lucas and Max together. And if you can already kind of see the synergy that's going on there as well, go check out that deck tech, like Paul said. Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go 7. And that's about all I really want to say on here. Otherwise, we'll end up spoiling that video for the listeners and the viewers. So we'll move on to Mike now. We have Mike the Dungeon Master. He is 1 green and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature human with an activated ability of 2 tap, choose target creature card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, return it to the battlefield tapped, and has friends forever.
Very interesting type of ability to have on a Selesnya creature. And they've been trying to incorporate more reanimation stuff into white, so I can understand why this is on here, but it's still kind of weird to see a reanimation effect on a Selesnya creature, because we're used to like Tristani, like Reese the Redeemed, Shalai. This isn't something that they typically do. And if they do, they usually have black somewhere in their identity. But this is just purely Selesnya, and you can reanimate anything that was put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn. This allows for some, I think, like infinite loops and stuff, but...
Paul?
Yeah, what's up?
I broke this card.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Like, I already knew a loop for it, but I was just like, ooh, that loop would be really cool as well.
But yeah, I mean... I guess obviously it lends itself to like a self-mill strategy, but you could also use like sack outlets to put things in the graveyard with ETB effects and then buy them back. At its surface, I feel like being in green and white, it's really missing a lot of those key elements to enable that strategy. So as a card itself, I'm very medium about this one, even more so than Max. So I'm actually going to go 7 on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's got self-mill. I could think of a way that you can mill your opponents with an infinite combo, but it's missing blue on itself that it really needs there to be like, oh, we'll just play Labman or Lab Jace and you'll just win the game. But I mean, it's cool, man, because like Selesnya finally has like reanimation stuff, and I've been looking for like a Selesnya deck, and I love Reanimator, so it'd be really interesting to try and build Mike in a flavorful way that is a reanimated deck without the classic color of black that has mainly all of your reanimation spells. Like reanimate and animate dead and dance of the dead and insert enchantment, reanimator here kind of stuff. You guys know the drill. But I was also thinking, like, obviously the classic loop with Mike is like an Ashnod's Altar and like, is it Village Bell Ringer? The one that whenever a creature ETBs, you get to untap all your creatures. So
yeah, I mean, you could do that. There's also like, I think Cathodian might also work with that, but
yeah, because when it dies, you get 2 mana.
I think you get 4.
Is it 4 or
I think
3?
so. It might actually be 3. I can't remember. It's one of those 2.
But anyway, like at any rate, like that would be better because I mean, unless you had like, again, Magical Christmas Lands, if you built the deck this way, some Mana Dorks on the field, Village Bell Ringer, Ashnod's Altar, and I'm just going to go out there and say a Solemn Simulacrum to sacrifice, because then you can just, ramp all of your lands out of your deck, and also, you can thin your deck out of all of your, like, basic lands, and you can draw a card every time, but if you also had, like, Guardian Project on the field, you can also draw your entire library with any other loop. And then you have your library in your hand, you can find a win that way. But it just seems like that's like something we've already seen 100 times before, is like some sort of broken infinite combo with a card. But I just like that the color combination this is in, because usually Selesnya is all about like, gaining a lot of life and doing something with life gain because it's in white, or it's like green, so it's big stompy, or because it's these 2 colors, it's like a combination of tokens or something. And seeing this is kind of like a reanimator style deck, I'm really cool. I really like this one. But yeah, I think I'm a little underwhelmed with the strategy. So I'm going to go 7 with you as well on that one.
All right.
So we didn't mean to leave this guy for last, but we kind of did, because we're going alphabetical and we're missing one of the last cards before. But anyway, this is Will the Wise, a white and a black for a 1/2 legendary creature human. This is when Will the Wise enters or leaves the battlefield, each opponent may investigate. Each opponent who doesn't lose 1 life, you investigate X times, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who investigated this way and has friends forever.
This card is actually, when I first looked at it, I was a little underwhelmed, but the more and more I thought about it, this is at worst 2 mana for a 1/2 that cantrips, which honestly I wouldn't play that in every deck, but I'd play it. And it's got some serious upside, because even when it leaves the battlefield, you do that again, and it can investigate up to 4 times per trigger, of which it's guaranteed to get 2 triggers pretty much. And that life loss is gonna add up over time, especially if you're playing like Tymna in this deck, because I'm pretty sure that works with Tymna, or does she specify combat damage?
She specifies combat damage.
Gosh darn it. Anyway, whatever. It's still
you tried. Cool. I could see the train of thought you were going for, and I was like, I want to board this train so bad, but unfortunately the train doesn't exist.
But yeah, it works pretty cool with things like wound reflection. I think like if you have Lolth, the Spider Queen from the Dungeons and Dragons set, if you ult her, Will the Wise works pretty cool with her. But
I have one of those too.
I think that's the way it works, right? I don't actually remember her text. I'm pretty sure it says that like if an opponent lost less than 8 life, they lose life equal to the amount that is the difference. I don't know. Whatever. Will the Wise is a pretty cool card. I think this one is perhaps going to be the most underrated one. I think Dustin is the worst one still, but I think a lot of people are going to think that Will is bad, and I actually think he's pretty good. So ignoring the fact that he has friends forever, like not taking into account the things that he can be friends with, I honestly want to give Will like a 9. I think he's pretty solid on his own, especially at his current cost.
Yeah, I mean, he's in Orzhov. How easy is it to enter and leave the battlefield? I mean, you got flicker effects. You got things that... you've got, what is it, Portable Hole that can flicker it? No, sorry, not Portable Hole. Teleportation Circle can flicker
Conjurer's
this, so
Closet,
it leaves...
all you fellow Alesha players out there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a pretty good one.
Conjurer's Closet, so again, it leaves and it enters, so you're going to be like draining the table for a decent amount of damage if they didn't want to investigate. But I also want to clarify here, Paul, Lolth, the Spider Queen's ultimate, specifically cares about combat damage.
Gosh darn it, dude.
I actually pulled it up while you were talking, and it says, whenever an opponent is dealt combat damage by 1 or more creatures you control, if that player lost less than 8 life this turn, they lose life equal to the difference. So the only thing I could think of with this is if you were to like wound reflection, maybe?
Yeah, I think I did mention that one. This is also pretty good with Panharmonicon and Teysa.
Well, this is a leaves the battlefield, not a death trigger.
Yeah, but if that leaves the battlefield trigger is caused by death, it still counts for Teysa.
Does it? That's cool. I didn't know that. I'm a religious Teysa player. I should know all this stuff. Yeah, okay then. All right, Will the Wise, definitely underrated. I'm gonna go 9.5.
Are we doing 0.5s?
We are now, because I want to make... Okay. I don't think he's a solid 10 just yet, unless there is something that I'm absolutely missing. I'm a tentative 9.5 because I want to give him the 10, but I don't think he's a 9.
Honestly, like, the fact that I just mentioned the Panharmonicon and Teysa thing, I actually am going to bump up to a 10. I don't know if that changes what you're going to say.
No, I'm still going to... Like I said, I really want to give him a 10, but I still think he's about a 9.5.
Fair enough.
But that's me. Like you know how much I love 1, Teysa, 2, Panharmonicon, and 3, like drain triggers and drain effects, and this is one of them. And yeah, I mean, does Will belong in my Teysa deck? Probably not. If I built a different version of Teysa, more based around like Will's interaction and Panharmoniconing things, then maybe we might see it happen. Who knows what the future brings? But that brings us to the end of all of our heroes from this Secret Lair. So we have 1 card left, and it's a villain. They brought one of the villains into this, and I was really hoping it was going to be a Demigorgon, but it's not a Demigorgon. Sorry. It is a mono black. It is the card we're going to talk about. It doesn't have friends forever, but it is Mind Flayer the Shadow. 4 black, black, black for a 9/9 legendary enchantment creature horror. Mind Flayer the Shadow isn't a creature unless you control 3 or more permanents you don't own. At the beginning of your end step, exile the bottom card of each opponent's library face down. For as long as those cards remained exiled, you may look at them, you may cast permanent spells from among them, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells.
A lot of people I've seen have been comparing this card to Gonti, saying that's a delayed Gonti. And while I think that is a fair comparison, I actually prefer to compare this to Mind's Dilation. They are the same cost. Mind's Dilation triggers once each turn, and Mind Flayer basically just gives you each Mind's Dilation trigger at the same time, at the beginning of your end step. But Mind Flayer does things a little better, because of what I just said. It gives you basically all 3 cards at once. It happens at the beginning of your end step, which means that if it's not dealt with on your turn, you get that value right away. It's very unlikely that this thing will be a creature when it hits the field, which means that it is very hard to kill, very much like the gods of old, like the Theros gods. And when it is live, it's a freaking 9/9. Like, that's huge. Not to mention that you're getting 3 extra cards per turn at 7 mana. Like, that's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I actually saw this card being referred to as like a upside down Paco. Because when Paco attacks, you exile the top, and then you can play those cards with fetch counters on them.
Right. But that's not even a good comparison, I don't think, because Paco, A, needs to attack. It's conditional.
Yeah.
And B, it's only while they have fetch counters on them. And I think it's only instants and sorceries as well. Which, granted, this one's only permanents. But I think you can set up like the bottom card of the library pretty consistently. I think there are cards. I know people play them in Grenzo that can like put cards on the bottom of the library. I don't know. I think that this card is going to be a serious powerhouse. I think it'll do a lot of work, either in the 99 or as the commander. Like, I almost want to play this in my enchantment deck that I still need to change the commander for. But I would also play this in like Centriplets. Actually, Centriplets is a great place for this.
Yes, and I'm like, Centriplets is Esper. Esper has black. This is black. Why would you not be playing this in Centriplets? I had a full thought process of like, can you play this in Centriplets? Like, is he memeing me right now, or is it actually true? No, it's actually true. Yeah, Mind Flayer. What a hell of a card, man. Like, I want to build a mono black deck around this.
I honestly, like, the only card you could legitimately just run 99 lands in Mind Flayer and you would have a deck. I'm not even kidding.
Can we do that?
You could. I'm not even kidding. I think that would be a real deck.
I'm like, can every person who's listening to this send me 1 swamp and I will have 99 swamps. I'll have 99 swamps and then I'll get my Mind Flayer from this box and I'll have a deck. I guess.
Let's see. If I had to give this thing a number rating, it's honestly pretty close to Lucas, I think, in terms of design. I'm going to give it a 13.
Dang, you're super generous with your ratings.
Mind Flayer is like, it is exactly how I started playing Commander. It's big, it's huge, it does something that's fun and cool, but not overpowered. I think it's great. I honestly think it is a perfectly designed card.
I'm going to give it a 12.5.
You're a real son of a gun.
Isn't that why I'm here? To challenge your thought process and give out interesting content to the listeners?
Oh, man.
I love that we said before this episode we were never going to give 0.5s, but I had to. I mean, I had to throw a wrench in the formula somewhere, right? You know, that's what I do here on Commander at Arms. Mind Flayer, what a fantastic card. Yeah, I'm not going to give it a full 13. I'm going to give it a 12.5. I think we could. I really want to see something else, and I don't know what that something else is going to be. I want there to be a little bit extra flavor for it, and it could just be me wanting more things on a card. But this has like the only way to put more stuff on this card is to literally shrink the text or make the text box bigger, because like you can't fit any more text on this card whatsoever. Am I going to build a Mind Flayer deck? Most likely, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I mean, you're not wrong. I started playing Magic with artifacts and cheap little, like, do 6 or 7 things in one turn and, synergies and everything. So I didn't really start playing Magic. Sorry, not Magic, but like I didn't start playing Commander as like these big 9, 10, 13 drops that do all these big flashy things. I was always like, hey man, artifacts are cool. I can drop like 7 of them in one turn. That's cool. Which is kind of funny how I came to be like the Magic player I am today. Huh. Self-reflection time.
It's also worth noting that Mind Flayer goes pretty good in Prosper for any of you who have that deck put together.
Oh yeah, Prosper the Tomebound, the Rakdos commander from the D&D set. There's a thought process to be had there. 100% a thought process to be had there. And with that, did you have any final thoughts on these cards, Paul?
Not on the cards themselves, but me and James did want to do a small little section at the end here, which I'm not sure if you were about to announce or not.
I was, but I mean, okay. You seem to be doing such a better job, so go ahead.
All right. Me and James did want to squeeze a little section at the end here where we talk about each card again, not in so much detail, but we just kind of want to go over their possible pairings and talk about, well, not really talk about, but like kind of list their best possible pairings in our humble opinions. So I guess we can just start from the beginning again, James. That's okay. All right. So we got Chief Jim Hopper. Not going to read the cards again. We'll kind of talk about synergies with them. Chief Jim Hopper honestly can go pretty well with just about anybody except 11, I guess. The rest of them pretty much make sense. I think Chief Jim Hopper is probably best with Lucas or Mike or Dustin, ironically enough. Dustin basically lets you crack a clue, not literally for free, but it's kind of why he's there, it seems like. Lucas can use all the artifacts you get from Chief Jim Hopper to tap and goad stuff and ping stuff. And Mike just cares about creatures existing, as does Chief Jim Hopper. So, like, if somebody blocks Chief Jim Hopper because he needs to attack to investigate, Mike can just get him back from the graveyard right after combat. So,
yeah.
As far as Dustin goes, honestly, I think Dustin can just go with anybody that investigates. So, Chief Jim Hopper, Max, and Will. That's probably it. And there's really not much to say there. Dustin just gives you mana for artifacts and artifact abilities. Nothing here actually is an artifact except for the clues, so it would make sense that he would really just want to go with the clue makers. Next up is 11. 11 is kind of a unique figure here. 11 wants you to have cards in hand, so theoretically speaking, you'd want to pair her with like Chief Jim Hopper, maybe Max, or Will. But I actually think that 11 and Mike is a pair that people are sleeping on a little bit. The only thing that people are really saying about it is that it's, like the first time you can have 5-color 2 commanders. But a lot of people have been saying that they don't really go together. Like, there's no synergy. And I was talking to James before this, and I actually have like a prototype, like very loose shell in mind for this. But there are creatures that get instants and sorceries back to your hand from the graveyard, so that after you cast them with 11, like let's say you have like an Archaeomancer that you can like chuck into your graveyard or whatever, Mike can just get that back. Like if you have a sack outlet on the field, you can just sack it, get it back with Mike, and then 11 can cast the spell that Archaeomancer gets back. I think it's a little bit of a sleeper pair that honestly might be the best pairing for 11 for that reason. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room there in case James wants to squeeze something in there.
No, man, you're nailing this, bro.
All right.
I'm on this trip with you. I mean, you were just talking about like it's 5-color 2 commanders. Woo, yeah, that's awesome. That have no synergy. But I was just trying to see if I could find the episode where we did like underrated cards from, I think it was Midnight Hunt. And we literally just got a red version of Archaeomancer in there. So I'm like, you just played that as well.
Yeah.
I just couldn't think of the name of the card. And I was quickly trying to scramble that. And you were like, hey, James, talk about something. And I went,
well, you're in 5 colors. Like you've got Eternal Witness, Timeless Witness. You've got Green Warden of Marasa. You've got Archaeomancer. You've got a lot of options at your disposal. Next up, we got Lucas. Sorry.
Well, so before you jump in to the next one, quickly, I am going to say that 11 and Mike will be one of the next deck techs that we probably do here on the channel, because I love creature strats and I love playing spells. So Paul has a very small idea of how we're going to build that shell, and we're going to be building that one. I just thought of it right now, and that's what we're going to do.
All right, next up we got Lucas, the Sharpshooter. For obvious reasons, Max is probably the best pair for Lucas. They just go so well together. It's hard to imagine anything else going with Lucas. Theoretically speaking, you could also use Chief Jim Hopper, especially since Red and White just got a lot of artifact support from Strixhaven, and the set that came after that, I think, also had some support for red-white artifacts. Other than that, theoretically, you could also go with Will the Wise if you wanted a 4-color deck, because you'd have black, white, red, and blue. And black has some synergies with like treasures and stuff that you could get for Lucas. But I can't think of anything else that would go with Lucas. So probably just like Max and Will, probably the best, and then maybe Chief Jim Hopper can get thrown in there. Next up, we have Max the Daredevil herself. I'm obviously going to say Lucas, but theoretically speaking, you could also go with Dustin. That would give you 4 colors again. You'd have blue, white, red, and green. And Dustin could pop your treasures that you get with Max. Max can also go with... that might actually be it. I guess Mike is actually pretty good, because you can untap Mike and get creatures back. So, sure. Lucas, I think, is still the best, but Mike is a pretty cool second one, as is Dustin. Next up, we have Mike. Best pairing for Mike, I honestly actually want to say is probably Chief Jim Hopper. Despite the fact that I just talked about the cool little shell for 11 in Mike, I think that Chief Jim Hopper being able to attack with impunity because Mike exists is really cool. I think another close second pairing would be Mike and Will, as well as the aforementioned Mike and 11. But Mike being able to get Will back is also a pretty cool interaction, because you get to keep recurring your triggers over and over again off Will. And then finally, of course, we have Will. Will is in a pretty unique place where I think he can go probably equally well with any commander or any of the other friends, because he doesn't really care about anything else except entering the battlefield or leaving the battlefield. And because he starts off so cheap, he can literally just go with anybody just for a little bit of additional value. I think the best pairing probably still is Mike, but I think Dustin and Lucas are close seconds on that. Yeah, and that's it.
And then the Mind Flayer just goes with the Mind Flayer, because the Mind Flayer don't give no anything. So yeah, and I mean that's it. That's everything that we wanted to talk about in the Stranger Things Secret Lair. So we're going to move to our end step now. If you had any other combinations of these cards that you wanted to let us know about, you can do that on Twitter or Instagram at CMDR@arms. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel as well, Commander at Arms on YouTube, where you can find our newest deck techs and brews, like our Max and Lucas deck tech that's going to be, should already be up by the time that this episode drops, as well as our upcoming 11 and Mike deck tech that Paul and I will be building in the next couple of days. We also do unboxings on there as well whenever we get our hands on sealed products. Talking about products, if you want to buy cards online, get them shipped to your house, and support local game stores while giving us a small kickback, you can use our TCG affiliate link, tcgplayer.com/commanderatarms. I know that a couple of my friends have been using it when they've been buying their sealed products. If you want to get these cards or this Secret Lair, which you can't get through TCG Player, it's probably a bad way to like, hey, do that thing. But anyway, if you want to get any of your sealed products or anything, use that link. It's going to be in the show notes below, like it always is. We have our brand new merch shirt. We have the Commander at Arms logo on a super soft Bella canvas, and you can find that in the show notes below. It will take you to our Bad Fred Design Co. Etsy store, which is the store that hosts our shirts. Go and check out everything else they have. And then I just want to plug the Patreon here really quickly. If you want to support the show directly, you can do it at patreon.com/commanderatarms. We have 3 tiers in there. I think it's $1, $5, or $10. We have a couple patrons over across all of our tiers, all patrons, and everybody gets access to the Discord server and some little extra hidden gems in there for all of our patrons. And then after that, Paul, do you have anything you want to say to the listeners?
But of course, To everyone listening, even if this is the first and only episode you ever have or ever will listen to, it means a lot to me and James that you took the time to do so. You could have done anything else with your time, but instead you chose to take, no matter how long it is, a minute, an hour, to sit down and listen to us ramble on about Magic the Gathering. And for that, we thank you. It really means a lot to us. If you did happen to enjoy what you just listened to or watched if you're on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below or get at us on Twitter. And most importantly, share us around in your playgroup, in your local game store with your friends. You know, if they play Magic, just be like, hey, I just listened to these guys, Paul and James. They were talking about the new Stranger Things commanders. They had some really good opinions and hot takes, and I want you to listen too. So go to blah, 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 blah. Listen to episode 76 or whatever. The more people we can interact with, the better. It's one of the best parts about being a part of the Magic community is how many of us there are. And me and James like to take full advantage of that and interact with as many people as we can on a daily basis.
I think I'm on Twitter at least 10 times a day now. I went from someone who didn't know how to use Twitter at all to now that's all I do with my spare time is just scroll through the Magic Twitter and just, see what everybody's up to, which is a lot of fun, mind you, and a really easy way to lose track of time, which has gotten me in trouble a couple of times with the wife. But anyway, with that, I'm James.
And I'm Paul.
And you've been listening to the newest episode of the Commander at Arms podcast.
Peace.
See ya.